I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're unlocking the secrets to peak performance with Doug Giesler, author of a wonderful book. It is called Be the Instrument. This powerful book guides you through achieving your goals with a unique blend of practical skills and spiritual insight. Doug shares how to maintain balance, enhance well-being, and transform challenges into opportunities for growth. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank our team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. We ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his awesome book. The links are below this interview. Doug, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan. Great to see you.
Tell us what you mean by be the instrument.
Well, there's a number of meanings kind of behind the be the instrument. That could mean be the instrument of change. That could mean be the instrument of love, be the instrument of God. It really kind of depends on how you want to interpret the book and how you want to play that out in your life.
Gotcha.
For me, it's about love.
Mm-hmm. To be an instrument of love to help others, whether it's people in your family or your community and beyond.
Yes, I mean, there's some signs in the neighborhoods around and themes going around in religious circles, faith over fear.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little bit of that, and it's also love over fear. When I was growing up, I struggled with fear. It was a roadblock for me in some cases, and I was fortunate enough to have the drive and some push from my parents as well to kind of push me into some things that helped me overcome that. But I got to a point in my life where I had made a bunch of money and I had to seriously take some time and look at myself and look at fear in the face. And it was a challenge. It took some doing, it took some overcoming, it took some, persistence and really some introspection at the same time. And honestly, it took me about 10 years.
Mm. When you talk about fear, are you talking about the kind of fear that we all kind of experience when we're presented with something that's new, that we don't want to step outside of our comfort zone? Is that the kind of fear you're talking about?
Exactly. Yes. Not like the get out of the way of a moving freight train. That's
That's
different. You
good
got to
fear.
move. That's right. You got to move.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's more on the psychological end of things, and what I found was that fear. I think people look at fear a little bit differently, and maybe the way that I kind of explained it in the book will help them, to kind of get through it too. Because what I kind of learned was that fear is mostly psychological. It's
Mhm.
usually relative to something that we've experienced in the past or something that we're going to experience coming into. And so what our mind does is it places us in the future or in the past, and then we're kind of captivated or attached to that particular imagery that's going on in the mind. And we get attached to that, and then we're not really able to confront it.
Mhm.
We get kind of caught up in the emotion of it. And, for me, it was learning to kind of capture that emotion
Mhm.
and really channel it. Because if you really think about what fear does, is it gives you a ton of energy.
Mhm.
But what we don't do is we don't process that energy and use it. We process it and either run away, that fight or flight mode,
Yeah.
or we avoid it. So we get resistance mode or fight or flight mode, avoidance. Whereas, what I explain in the book is to really kind of understand the energy patterns that are coming through the mind, because it's coming through so fast
Yeah.
that we don't really know how to interpret it. And that was the problem that I had kind of growing up, is I didn't really know how to interpret that energy because it was
Yeah.
overwhelming. And so what I explain in the book is really how to take that energy, understand what's driving it, like in your mind, where it's coming from, and really interpret that energy and channel it so that you can use it to really, approach your limitations. Because what we're doing is, just like you said, we're approaching an edge or
Mhm.
a threshold within our own minds, which is often a limitation.
Yeah.
And so what the book teaches people is really how to confront and overcome their own limitations in a kind of a one at a time fashion. And it's just super powerful.
Yeah, it is super powerful. And a lot of people don't realize what is happening when they have the prospect of a new job, the prospect of a new relationship, the prospect of moving to a new home, and they recoil from it.
That's
They
right.
don't realize that that's anxiety, that's fear, and that if they could just, as you say, channel that energy in a positive direction, they would have that new job, they would have that new relationship, they would have that new home, and their
Yep.
life would be improved exponentially.
That's right. And the funny thing is like everybody kind of interprets it a little bit differently.
Mhm.
In some people it might be butterflies in their stomach, other people it might be sweat, some people it might just get them jacked,
Right,
and
exactly.
it's just it depends on the person in terms of how they interpret that energy. But the bottom line is if we can channel that energy and really maintain our focus presently rather than going towards the fear, like
Yeah,
whether that be in the past or whether that be in the future, really channel that and use it to maintain our presence, we can really unlimit our limits, is what I like to
exactly.
say in the books. So,
Yeah. Yep. Unlimit your limits. That's a great way to put it for sure. Let's give the folks at home an overview of the book. What will they find between the covers?
oh my gosh, it takes you really on an experience. I kind of started when I grew up and how I went through this process. And about in my 30s, I really had a bit of an awakening. And what happened was I was bottling up those emotions, and and because I didn't know how to process them and use them productively,
Hmm.
I was burying them.
Hmm.
And so it really I wasn't able to overcome those limits personally until I learned to be able to feel, to be able to see, to be able to hear. What I was doing is I was just saying block it all out and tunnel vision. And I didn't want to feel, I didn't want to see, I didn't want to hear anything that was outside of the scope of what I had my focus on.
Right.
So what I had to teach myself was to open myself up to be able to see more, to hear more, to be in the moment where I could hear all of that. So I take people basically in this book on a journey. While the book, it's not really about me, it's to teach people how to do this themselves because there's exercises and ways to kind of challenge their beliefs and challenge their limits and stuff like that. But I give real life experiences of what I had to go through to really learn this myself.
Mhm.
And because it was such an experiential thing for me, I take it down to the nitty gritty because what I did was I really kind of focused down on like really fractions of a second because it's amazing how quickly we can get in our own way.
Hmm.
And the mind will take us and put us in the past, or the mind will take us and put us in the future. And if we're in that future, then we have no control in the moment to make a choice that could
Hmm.
affect that future.
Yeah.
So what I take people on is really a journey of what I experienced and how to overcome those limits, how to overcome and challenge those limits for ourselves. We kind of tend to paint ourselves into a box or a comfort zone, and the ego has a lot to do with that. What I'm basically teaching people is to challenge those limits and confront them one by one. And
Exactly.
it's an amazing experience. I've had really just amazing reviews. People love it, and it's really helping a lot of people.
Well, it's great advice. I like to say I'm most comfortable outside of my comfort zone. I like being challenged. I like being put up, standing in a room full of 100 people and auditioning against those 100 people. I mean, that's the life of an actor. If you don't thrive in a situation like that, you're dead in the water,
Right.
So I've had to incorporate some of these techniques that you talk about in your book in my
Yep.
own life for sure.
That's awesome.
Spirit, I'm sorry.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's important. And I, had shakes and sweats and everything else that anybody goes through when they're scared, their heart beating out of their chest. That
Yeah.
was a big one for me,
Oh,
calming
sure.
my heart down, like,
Yeah.
okay,
Breathe.
I
Breathe,
got
right?
this.
Deep
Yeah.
breath.
Yeah, I mean, because as an actor, you work, over a course of a year to get a role, and you're down to your third audition. You don't want to blow it. So there's a lot
Yeah, that's
riding on
right.
the table, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Spirituality is an important part of your book as well. Tell me a little bit about that.
Of course. What I did in the first half was kind of, that was the preface to get your mind right and start focusing on getting into the moment, into the zone, and working on peak performance and stuff like that. The second
Mhm.
half of the book is kind of taking all the stuff that I learned back in that 10-year stretch, and I was reading, a lot of motivational material as well as the Bible. I was studying other religions and other philosophies. I read a lot of Emerson and poetry and just anything I could get my hands on. I was just a sponge. Like I could not get enough. And the main reason was because I wanted to overcome these things that were, kind of holding me back in my own mind. And so like I was on a quest. Like I had to solve this because honestly, fear is painful.
Yeah,
It stops you from doing some things that you probably should be doing,
exactly.
And so the second half of the book takes all that stuff that I learned in that and then when I had that kind of awakening and I could actually hear and I could actually see and I could actually feel, it changed everything for me.
Wonderful.
So the back half of the book kind of takes all of the stuff that I learned there, and it takes the spiritual side of it, like stuff from the Bible, Jesus, the Lord's Prayer, some Indian philosophies and things like that, and it explains what the passages are actually trying to teach us. Because for me, like I grew up Catholic and I love religion for the framework that it provides. But for me, like it was like I want something that I can take and really implement in my life. I wanted something that was a little more action oriented. So what I did in the book is I took those passages, like the really powerful passages, like St. Francis of Assisi and Jesus, and and the religion aspect of it, and I explained it, in the framework of how your mind actually works, and presence and faith and forgiveness. So there's actually two more books coming, and it's kind of a lead in. So the Be the Instrument book kind of goes through all of that. And then what I did for these next two books, which are just about to come out, is I framed two of the larger aspects of the religious and the spirituality aspect of it. And I blew them up into a much bigger topic. So the topic is going to be faith and forgiveness. So when I talk about presence and the ability to hear and feel and see, that's all about being in the moment. But we don't spend a lot of time in the moment. We spend a lot of time in the past and we spend a lot of time in the future. So what I've done in the back half of that book is teach people how to maintain that presence, literally how to do it, because it teaches you the things, those edges, the thresholds in your mind that take you out of the moment. So when you learn where those are in your own mind, you kind of see it coming in advance. But then what I'm doing in the second two books is I'm taking the forgiveness aspect of it because, hey, let's face it, we fail a lot, but people are scared of that. Like they're afraid to fail. What I teach people in this is it's okay to fail. We want to fail because if we're not failing, we're not moving forward. We're not learning anything.
You're not doing.
Right. So the second book is called The F Word. No, not that one. Forgiveness. And so what that basically teaches us is to let go. Okay, we're letting go of the past so that we can maintain our presence in the future. And what faith does, faith is the other side of the moment, right? It's the future. It's our buffer to the future. So it basically it reduces our need to control outcomes and to control the future. So when we let go of that future and we let go of that past, then we've basically, done what Moses did. We put a channel right through and allowed us to stay present. Right. So that's the focus of the back half of the book, and basically self-love, self-forgiveness, and faith, which teaches us, piece by piece, I'm putting it together for people so that they can maintain their focus in the moment, like where they're actually able to make a choice.
Awesome.
That's where you control your future. So
agreed. You only have power over the moment.
That's right. That's right.
No power of the past, no power of the future, just now. And what you do now will impact the future. And that's important to know. The name of the book, written by Doug Giesler, is Be the Instrument. It is a powerful book that guides you through achieving your goals with a unique blend of practical skills and spiritual insights. He spent 10 years, a decade, in his quest to defeat fear. And we're glad he did, because the result is this book and two more books to follow. Excellent guides. They will help you on your life journey for sure. Doug, thanks so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you so much, Logan.
I appreciate your time. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.